Probably the most difficult thing that these individuals have to deal with is the fact that the outside society doesn't accept the fact that their loved one went to prison. Society wraps their arms around somebody who's lost a loved one through death, but they'll shun somebody whose loved one's gone to prison, even though they're not guilty of anything.
It was tearing our relationship apart because we didn't know how to communicate.
You think you're handling something until somebody in a conversation asks you a question, a family or friend, how are you taking this, how are you dealing with this? And all of a sudden you start crying, you know, and you go, wow, I thought I had handled that.
You can call psychiatrists, psychologists, you can call all the people you want to call. But in the end, there's nobody that really has been out there to help us.
Because had I had any idea that I hurt my family members, not only the immediate victim, but the victim support group and family members as much as I'd done, I would have not made those choices.
The program I created several years ago now is Hope for Healing Hearts, and it is specific for adults that have a loved one in prison or in jail, and in fact even somebody that maybe is facing coming into this because they don't know what to expect.
My brother murdered my mother. My brother, another brother, went to prison for some other incidents a few years later. And then the thing that really drove me, where I felt I really had to find some assistance, was my son went to prison. And I think that was the last straw for me.
I found Bonnie's newspaper article after close to a year of going through court with my son. He was in the county jail for 10 months during the trial. There were 4 people, including him, involved, so it was a long process. And I was sitting outside drinking, because that's what I had done for 10 months.
It's very painful, and especially when you have a little one at home. You're having to be secretive in regards to it. You have to watch what you say, because how do you explain to a 3-year-old what somebody has done? There's no easy way about it.
I personally do not have anyone in prison, but I had a son-in-law whose father went to prison. And when I watched the emotional trauma that both he and my daughter went through, I realized help was needed, and did a major search and found there was nothing out there.
Bonnie Hilber is my mother-in-law. I'm married to her daughter, Robin, of course. My father went to prison for second-degree murder at the age of 64. Just a shock to the system. I was angry, had nowhere to turn. I was going downhill fast. Bonnie had called certain places to find out if there's any help for an adult with an incarcerated loved one. No help. Basically, Bonnie was told to have me seek private counseling.
So with a little encouragement from my son-in-law, I started the program simply because I had a lot of background in grief and recognized this as a loss.
And talked with her and talked with our pastor, Neil, and they got the group going, and ever since then, now I can talk to people and not worry about hiding my face.
I opened the doors, if you will, to anybody that was interested. And when we started the first time, it was in October of 2007, I believe. And at that time, we had 8 people, 8 strangers that came together for the first time, nobody knowing what the other individual's situation was, uncertain, in embarrassment, crossing a line that was uncomfortable to them, and yet knowing that they needed answers, they needed help, they needed direction.
So when I came to this group, initially it was curiosity, but it was more helpful after I got here, because as much as I had been through groups, I was amazed at how much work I still had to do.
When people are coming into the group new, you know, they don't know what's going on, what's going to happen, they don't know how they feel, and it's at this point, it's nice being able to help somebody.
The urge for me to help, to give back, has always been there. I cannot erase the past for what caused me to go to prison, but I sure can make a better future and path for myself at this stage, and that's giving.
There were a lot of tears shed in those first weeks, but after 8 weeks, there were a lot of smiles. They had reached a comfort level that it wasn't over, but at least they now knew that they were no longer alone. And when I saw that kind of a reaction, I realized this group can't stop.
I feel loved here. And in turn, I'm able to give as much love as I have.
That somebody else has felt their pain, and I think that our group is doing that and can do that for the community.
I'm just grateful for the group. Grateful for the group. Met some great people.
I do believe without any question that this was God's path that I walked over the last 15, 20 miles of 20 years, leading me to this, training and preparing me to be able to do this.